In Major League Baseball history, no manager was thrown out of games more often than Bobby Cox. 162 times, umpires pointed to the dugout and sent him to the clubhouse. Conventionally, a leader prone to public fits of rage fosters a chaotic environment, which usually leads to high turnover and institutional inconsistency. The Atlanta Braves under Bobby Cox operated with a surprising degree of stability. They became one of the most reliable organizations in modern North American sports. Between 1991 and 2005, Atlanta secured 14 division titles in a row, a feat unmatched in any professional league, and captured the 1995 World Series. Understanding how baseball's most penalized manager engineered its most disciplined dynasty requires a close look at the tactical benefits of his aggression. The story starts with a firing. In 1981, following a mediocre 81-80 season, Braves owner Ted Turner let Cox go. Team owner Ted Turner brought him back 4 years later as the general manager, responsible for a complete top-to-bottom organizational rebuild. Cox and his front office shifted the franchise's trajectory. Starting in the mid-1980s, resources moved away from hitting, pouring into elite pitching development. 3 legendary arms emerged from that spike: John Smoltz, Tom Glavine, and the acquisition of Greg Maddux. Cox returned to the dugout to manage the team in 1990, and the work immediately materialized. In 1991, the Braves vaulted from last place straight to the World Series. 4 years later, that elite pitching core delivered Atlanta the 1995 Major League Championship. Building a roster full of talent solves the physical side of the game. However, realizing that potential required a highly specific, low-stress environment on the field, which brings us back to the 162 ejections. While the stands saw a man with a severe temper, the players in the dugout recognized a specific defensive intent. Third baseman Chipper Jones recounted how Cox would aggressively confront umpires over botched calls, putting himself in the line of fire to defend the roster. Pitcher Greg Maddux learned to weaponize this. Knowing a specific umpire had a wide strike zone, Maddux would intentionally complain about calls to bait Cox into charging the field on his behalf. This diagram illustrates exactly how that dynamic functioned. By deploying his own public rage, Cox acted as a boundary line, absorbing external pressure and drawing attention away from player mistakes. This strategy created a completely insulated vacuum. The athletes could execute their jobs without carrying the burden of intense media scrutiny or the constant fear of failure. Even his physical presence reinforced this dedication. Cox strictly wore traditional metal spikes and stirrups in the home dugout, a visible marker of his old-school, player-first devotion. Cox utilized these tirades as calculated, highly effective tools designed to maintain absolute team focus. Cox managed the Braves for 25 years before retiring in 2010. Following his recent passing at age 84, the baseball world reflected on a career that defied traditional logic. Generational players like catcher Brian McCann remembered him primarily for his fatherly demeanor and deep loyalty to the men he protected. The results of that loyalty are etched into the record books: 2,504 regular season wins, 16 playoff appearances, and those 14 division crowns. In 2014, the sport provided the final institutional validation of his methods, enshrining him in the Baseball Hall of Fame. The 162 ejections and the 14 division titles represent the exact same metric, the numerical proof of a manager who protected his team so fiercely that they